This is May 8th, 2024, 4 p.m. We call this meeting of the Cochise County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Could we read the ground rules first? Welcome to this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Please turn off cell phones or silence ringers. Please speak polite to other stakeholders. No applause, no booing, no cheering. If you desire to speak, fill out a speaker information form and submit it to the planning staff before the start of the meeting. This is not required for the docket applicants. Speakers must use the microphone to capture comments. Each elected county supervisor appoints 3 commissioners to staggered 4-year terms. Up to 3 commissioners are from cities. At least 6 commissioners are from unincorporated areas. A commissioner's service is pro bono. A quorum is 5 commissioners. Special use dockets are approved by the commission. A majority vote passes a motion. A tie vote triggers a rehearing at the next meeting. Appeals of special use decisions are considered by the Board of Supervisors. Appeal procedures can be found on the county website. For additional assistance, contact the case planner. Dockets other than special use requests result in a recommendation forwarded by the commission to the Board of Supervisors. A majority vote passes a motion. A majority vote passes a motion, a tie vote fails. To voice an opinion regarding a recommendation, you may attend the Board of Supervisors public hearing. We observe the following time limits. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes for call to public, 10 minutes for applicant statement, 5 minutes for supporters or those opposed, and 5 minutes for applicant's rebuttal. Thank you. It's time for roll call. Mr. Montgomery?
I am present.
Mr. Limbach?
Present.
Chair DePew present. Mr. Watkins?
Present.
Mr. Young? Mr. Gonzalez?
Present.
Mr. Mardsky?
Present.
Mr. Saunders?
Present.
And Ms. Pickett?
Present.
We do have a quorum. I hope everyone has read the last month's minutes. Do we have any comments or corrections on those minutes?
Sure.
Mr. Martsky?
I move that we accept the minutes as mailed.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Mr. Montgomery?
Aye to approve.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Abstain.
Mr. Young? We have not heard from Mr. Young. Okay, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez?
Abstain.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Ms. Pickett?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. The motion, the minutes are approved. At this time, we have call to public pursuant to ARS Section 38-431.01H. This is an opportunity for the public to comment. Individuals are invited to address the commission on any issue within the commission's jurisdiction. Since commissioners may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda, commission action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Do we have any public speakers? Anyone online?
Yes,
Hearing none.
Robert and Yadira John are online.
Blanca Colosio. Is this regarding a docket item, or are you asking to speak to in the public portion? Item.
Docket item.
Yes, Madam
Howard.
Chair, this is for the second item this evening.
Thank you very much. Hold on. Let's move on to the docket items. First one is RZ 24-06. Sure I have the right one here. Yes, Rockbridge Revocable Trust. The applicant requests rezoning of SR 43 to SR 174. The applicant is Lynn Haber. Is the applicant present?
Yes. On the phone.
Thank you. Thank you. It's time for Mr. Taylor's Planning Director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket RZ 2406. This is a downzone request from SR 43 to SR 174. The applicant is Rockridge Revocable Trust, Lynn Haber. Property is located at the corner of Cochise Stronghold and Spruce Street in Sunsites Unit 2 and encompasses 5 parcels, 1170506 through 071. As mentioned previously, the property is on single residence with 1 acre minimum parcel size. The proposed zoning is to increase that minimum parcel size to 4 acres. The growth area category for this area is D. The plan designation is also rural. Existing use of the property currently is a couple of accessory structures. The proposed use is a single-family residence. Should the zoning be approved, the property would be eligible for participation in the county's opt-out program, owner-builder program. Again, the property is located in Sunsites Unit 2, approximately 5.5 miles west of Highway 191. Again, the zoning map demonstrates that the property is zoned SR 43, as are most of the lots around it. There is some neighborhood business zoning to the east, and the remainder of the zoning to the north and to the west is RU4. Some images of the site at ground level. Some additional images of the site. Drone imagery shows the parcels highlighted, the approximate parcel boundaries highlighted in yellow. And another image and another image. Zoning regulations identify 15 factors with which staff and the commission uses to evaluate a rezoning application. In this particular case, there are 6 factors that are not applicable, as this is a downzone in a residential district. Factors in favor of approval are that the application complies with 8 of 9 applicable factors. The proposed use of the property, which is residential, is compatible with the residential growth pattern in the area, which is very low density. The downzone will reduce the number of allowed principal dwellings, as each of the 5 lots could currently support 1 principal residence as well as an accessory dwelling. And staff has not received any oppositions from neighboring property owners. Factors not in favor, none have been identified at this time. Staff sent notices, posted the property, and published a legal advertisement on 17 April. Of those, staff did mail 22 notices to owners within 300 feet. We did receive 1 response in favor, but that was from an individual outside the notification area. And we also received a telephone inquiry about the rezoning from an owner out of state who was not in favor or support, or not in favor or opposition. And Madam Chair, Commissioners, that concludes staff's presentation of docket RZ 2406. We are available for your questions, and as we heard earlier, the applicant is available online.
Thank you. Ms. Haber, would you like to make a statement? You have 10 minutes.
No, I think he pretty much covered it.
Thank you very much. This is time for public hearing. We can take comments from other persons. You have 5 minutes. Hearing none. This is also the time now for the applicant's rebuttal. Ms. Haber, we'll let it rest, correct?
Correct.
And the public hearing is closed. Do the commissioners have any questions of the applicant or staff?
Today.
There are no questions. Mr. Taylor, would you summarize?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, staff recommends, based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends forwarding docket RZ 2406 to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval.
Thank you very much. call for the motion, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Markski?
I vote to recommend to the Board of Supervisors approval of docket RZ 2406, rezoning of parcel 117-05067 to 117-05071 from SR 43 to SR 174. Factors in favor of approval constitute the findings of fact.
Second.
Mr. Gonzalez, thank you. Is there any further discussion of the motion? I shall call for the vote. Mr. Montgomery?
Yes, factors not in favor, there are none. So I vote aye to approve.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Markski?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Ms. Fickett? Aye. Chair votes aye. It is unanimous. This item will be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval. Any person not agreeing with this action should attend the Board of Supervisors meeting dealing with this docket. Congratulations, Ms. Haber.
Thank you very much.
Item 2, SU 24-05, called Grasshopper Lane Accessory Living Quarters. The applicants are Yadira and Robert Yan. Are they present?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor, could we have your report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 2405, a special use authorization for a 1,560 square foot accessory living quarter. Again, the applicant is Yadira Yan and Robert Yan. The location is 5890 Grasshopper Lane in Hereford, APN 104-31034M. The current zoning of the property is RU4 and the current plan and designation is rural residential. Growth area is also rural. The current use of the property is a single-family dwelling. Proposed use is a primary residence with an accessory dwelling. The property again is located in Hereford and it's approximately 18 miles west of our location. Zoning map demonstrates the parcel and all surrounding parcels are in fact zoned RU4. A little background on the accessory living quarters provisions within the zoning regulations. It comes, they're specified in section 2.48. Accessory living quarters are allowed in all rural districts and some residential districts, and by some that would be R36, minimum of almost an acre. The accessory living quarter needs to be on the same parcel as the principal residence. The owner should reside on the property, can be attached or detached. Accessory living quarters typically are identified in the zoning regulations as having living, sleeping, and eating, cooking, and sanitation facilities. It is an administrative application process. A special use is required per the zoning regulations under certain circumstances for accessory living quarters. If it were to be rented or leased separately from the principal residence, if there was a business use that was beyond the purview of a home occupation, that would require special use. And the development standards. Accessory living quarters cannot exceed 50% of the square footage of the principal dwelling or 1,000 square feet max. And it must be equal to or less than the principal dwelling height. The applicant is requesting approval of a 1,560 square foot accessory dwelling. A new principal dwelling is approximately 3,200 square feet. So the existing manufactured home on the property now, which is the principal residence, is proposed to become the accessory living quarters, which obviously it exceeds that 1,000 square foot threshold. There is proposed a new principal dwelling to be located on the property to the north of the existing manufactured home, which totals approximately 3,200 square feet. The applicant's site plan demonstrates the existing mobile home as well as the proposed mobile home to the north. It would have separate services all of its own, and as depicted on this site plan, it appears that all the development standards of the RU4 zoning districts are met. The aerial imagery showing Grasshopper Lane and the existing manufactured home. And another image, this would be viewing to the north. showing some of the closest residences. That residence off to the left is approximately 100 feet from the property line, and that is in fact the closest residence to the subject property. There are 10 factors in the zoning regulations with which staff and the commission use to recommend, approve a special use authorization. In this particular case, 3 of those factors do not apply. So with that, Madam Chair and Commissioners, factors in favor of approval. The request complies with 7 of 7 applicable factors. Accessory dwelling units are permitted by right in all rural districts. We have received support from a neighboring property owner. Factors not in favor, we have received opposition from a nearby property owner as well. The applicant did mail notification letters as required by the zoning regulations on 29 March and did not receive any significant opposition, if any. And staff followed that up on 17 April by mailing notices, posting the property, and publishing legal advertisement. As of today, we've had 2 responses in favor and 1 response in opposition. And I would note that the one of the property owners did also submit a comment in favor. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff presentation for docket SU 2405. We are available for your questions, and the applicant is present online.
Thank you. Mr. or Ms. Yan, would you like to speak? You have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address.
We are Yadira Yan and Robert Yan. The address is 5890 South Grasshopper Lane in Hereford, Arizona.
Mr. Taylor did a really good job of explaining what we're attempting to do, to take the existing modular home and making it the additional so that we could bring in a bigger primary residence for our family. That's pretty much it. Thank you for your time.
The current home is Blanca Colosio, which is also on the deed, and she is my mother, my husband's mother-in-law. Currently, we were all living in one single-family home in the western side of Arizona, but we are moving to that area and purchase property there. So we're hoping to be able to continue to live as a family, but in separate units so we can accommodate. We have 5 children that's still at home. So we're trying to still live within the quarters where we can help my mom. She's retirement age, single. So we just want to live in community, but not in the same household anymore. That way she could host my siblings and she could have her own area and we can have our own space, but still be within,
Still be together.
still be together, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is now open. I call for comments from other persons, for or against. Do we have anyone online?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Blanca Colosio, she's the current resident of the primary residence, and she'd like to speak a word. You gotta say your name.
I'm Blanca Colosio. I'm also a resident there, and I'm in favor of it. I think it would be wonderful to be together.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. This is the time for commission discussion. Is there any questions from the commission for applicant or staff? No?
I guess I will offer, Chair Lady. I
Mr.
appreciate the family orientation for this. It's not just, it's a family. That means something.
I did have one question, Mr. Taylor, if you can help me out with the map. The folks that sent in an opposing statement, is there a big wash between them and this applicant? Or am I misreading that map?
Madam Chair, yeah, the one response we received in opposition from the owner to the north, they do occupy the property, and you can vaguely see that on the other side of that water feature on the property, there is a single-family residence at the northwest corner of that property. But there is a substantial gap and I guess you could say a relatively unbuildable area in between.
Just wanted to make sure I was looking at that correctly. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I now call for the planning director's summary. Mr. Taylor?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2504 to allow a 1,560 square foot accessory living quarter with the following conditions. And I'll summarize the conditions. They're the typical conditions we pull for special use authorizations, which deal with permitting timeframes and any if at any time there was any proposed change to the site layout that could require modification. No additional special conditions are recommended by staff.
Call for the motion, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Martsky?
move to approve docket issue 2405, Grasshopper L2, with condition of approval recommended by staff. Factors in favor of approval constitute the findings of fact.
Second?
Second.
Was that Mr. Gonzalez? Thank you. Is there any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Mr. Montgomery?
Yes. What?
How do you vote? You said yes.
Yes, I will vote aye, and eagerly so.
Mr. Limbaugh?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Ms. Pickett? Aye. Chair votes aye. It's unanimous. This motion passes. An individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or online at cochise.az.gov. Thank you, and congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Young.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you all.
You bet.
Item 3 and last, docket SU 24-04, called Mosen Metal Art. The applicants are John and Colleen Giffen. Are the applicants present?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, could we please have your planning report?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is the staff presentation for docket SU 2404, special use authorization request for a metal art and sculpture business. The applicants are John and Colleen Giffen. The property is located at 5089 South Mosen Road. That would be APN 107722011F. Current zoning is RU4 and the plan designation is rural residential. Growth area is also rural. Current use is a single family dwelling with shop space. Proposed use is a residential with a metal art and sculpture business, which would generally fall under the manufacturing category of the zoning regulations. And the property is located along Mosen Road in Hereford, about approximately 20 miles east of our location. The subject property is zoned RU4, as are all surrounding properties. The applicant has provided a site plan showing the existing layout of the parcel. Most of the parcel remains undeveloped, other than a 3,600 square foot building, which has approximately 1,200 square foot of living space and 2,400 square foot of shop space. The applicant also identifies the existing driveway. Our engineering and natural resources department will be requiring a right-of-way permit to ensure that that driveway comes up to commercial standards. The applicant also shows a 2,500 square foot storage area to the rear of the property, which would be the rear southeast corner of the property. Some brief details on the project. The site totals 8.5 acres. Again, 3,600 square foot residence with shop, 2,500 square foot outdoor storage area. The applicant proposes producing products such as art, sculptures, gates, and auto-themed furniture. Operations are proposed to be Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I believe the applicant intends to have a by appointment only schedule on Saturdays. Would like to note very quickly, this main structure on the property was built under the owner builder program back in 2020. And again, it is kind of a split use building. It looks decidedly unresidential. It looks more like a commercial building, but there is dwelling space within it. The drone imagery viewing to the north shows the existing building and the existing vehicles that are stored in the back. And a drone, this image is looking east. The parcel to the right is undeveloped. And some additional images of the property showing the building from Mosen Road in the top left corner and viewing west in the lower right. The existing entryway off of Mosen Road and Mosen Road viewing north and south. So the zoning regulations identify 10 factors that staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission use to evaluate special use authorization applications. In this particular case, the applicant complies with all the conditions, and we feel that the offsite impacts can be mitigated with additional conditions beyond those identified in the zoning regulations. The factors in favor of approval complies with 10 of 10 factors with conditions. The existing development pattern consists of residential and non-residential uses are common and typically appropriate along rural collector roads, which is Mosen Road. And there was one property owner that responded in favor. Factors not in favor, none have been identified in staff, and staff has not received any opposition to the application. So the property owner mailed letters out on February 23rd, did not receive any opposition from nearby property owners, and staff followed up on 17 April, mailing notices, posting the property, and publishing a legal ad. As stated, staff has received one response in favor, and staff did mail 18 notices to owners within 600 feet. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff presentation of docket SU 2404. We are available for any questions, and again, the applicant is present.
Thank you. I'd like to call for the applicant's statement. If you'd like to come forward, you have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is John Giffen. We live at 5089 South Mosen Road in Sierra Vista. What we're looking to do is actually just run a small business here in the existing structure. The only reason we're applying for the special use authorization is because we would like to have the 2,500 square feet of outdoor storage, which is not allowed in a home-based business. Primarily that storage is just going to be of like raw material, steel and stuff like that. The business I'm proposing to run is actually for a steel sculpture, metal art, stuff like that. It's been my hobby before we moved here, when we built sculptures like full-size moose out of 1/4-inch plate that were 9 feet tall, 11 feet long. We also build like plant hangers, wind chimes, like furniture and stuff like that as well. Obviously, most of the stuff requires some sort of materials. It's just, like I said, it's not going to be anything hazardous materials or liquids or anything. It's mostly just going to be raw steel. In the picture there, we've already started some fencing, some screening in the front of the building. Also on this side, the south side, is going to go all the way down, majority from the front of the building, almost to the back corner. What the pictures don't really show is that back corner actually comes up about 15 feet in elevation. It's almost like a natural barrier for most of the houses around. But what we're trying to do is keep all the stuff that may be considered an eyesore or a commercial looking type of area in the back there, and that will all be screened as well. What we're doing is a 6-foot tall steel fence. And as far as outdoor operations, the only thing that's going to be outside is that would cause any kind of like dust or noise and just be the moving of materials themselves. The majority of all the business manufacturing stuff will be inside the building itself. And like Mr. Taylor had said, on Saturdays it could be by appointment only. And majority of the business can be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Is that it?
Yep.
We may call you back for a question, but you can have a seat for now.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. It's time for the public hearing. Is there anyone online or in the room that would like to speak to this docket? Hearing none. Call for the applicant's rebuttal. Thank you. I declare the public hearing closed. It's time for commission discussion. Is there any questions from the commission for applicant or staff?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbach?
Mr. Giffen, how will you mitigate noise, excessive noise? Or do you foresee excessive noise happening?
Like I said before, majority of the actual the business and manufacturing side will be inside the building itself, which obviously cuts down on considerable amount of the noise and stuff like that. The only outside activity that will be happening, like I said, would be the moving of materials, which will be done by either forklift or we have a Bobcat skid steer, both of which have mufflers on them and are compliant within their year frame as far as noise and stuff like that. Mr. Taylor and I actually had a couple of candid conversations about dust and noise and stuff like that, and majority of the wind and the dust area actually blows from south to north in this area. So it kind of comes from this side of the property up into the area that's undeveloped on our land. But like I said, majority probably 90% of all the operations are actually going to be inside the building itself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question.
Mr. Montgomery?
Okay, thank you. The picture there with the vehicles, is that kind of a material source for you?
Actually, about 80% of those vehicles there are actually my own collection.
Oh, okay.
I've worked at General Motors and stuff like that, and I do like classic car restorations and
Okay,
build
so I'm
vehicles
jealous.
and stuff.
When you do automotive art, do you pretty much use up the whole vehicle, or how does that work?
No, it winds up being, we call it automotive art, but it's like automotive themed art. So
Okay.
like as soon as we have our business up, we actually have 3 people that want, like I have a 1962 Studebaker wagon, and they want the whole nose section, the fenders, hood and stuff like that turned into a desk for their office. Another gentleman wants he has an outside area like he has a grill and stuff like that, and he has a 1971 large truck nose, like fenders and hood, but he wants that turned into a bar to put in his outside area. So it utilizes parts of the car, but it turns it into a useful piece of furniture, like a bar setting or a desk, like a back portion of a pickup truck could be turned into a bench. So that's the stuff we use. So we kind of recycle parts of old cars here and there, but majority of the vehicle themselves winds up just going, back to the scrapyard to be recycled.
All right, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Kind of place I like to hang out, so, thank you.
You do. Anyone else? Mr. Giffen, your destruction of antique vehicles notwithstanding. This sounds like an exciting business. I do have a question. Your boneyard is substantial, and you talk about 2,500 square feet. Are you going to build a fence, or is your perimeter fence going to serve as the neighborhood screen?
So on this bottom line is actually the south side of the building.
Mhm.
So from the front corner, like the Mosen Road front corner, out and all the way up in the back, there's actually going to be fencing on our perimeter to start with. And then the actual 2,500 square foot area is going to be slightly back where the cars are, but we haven't decided if we're going to fence that or use like a container or something to use a fence. But yeah, majority of that stuff there is actually going to be screened from public view, and we're kind of trying to put it behind the building as well. And that's why we did the fencing along the front as well. We have almost 100 feet of fencing in the front. It's trying to mitigate any sight, from either people driving by or neighbors and stuff like that.
Are you building that fence that you've started out from?
And yes, we have. Like I said, we have like about 90 feet in the front already done. The posts are in on this side for the gate, and I have enough posts.
So that's part of your handiwork is where I was going.
Yeah, so across the front, you can see the fencing coming across. There'll be a gate there, a gate on the other side. And I have enough posts to go 100 feet up that line. It'll be almost 170 feet by the time I'm done.
Okay.
I just
And by
haven't
the
got the
time you
panel
hit
yet.
the elevation back at the southeast corner, it'll be substantial.
Correct. Yeah.
So, all right. That sounds good. Anyone else have questions for Mr. Giffen? You can sit.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Taylor, I do have one additional question for instructive purposes. What effect does the opt-out have on future on this property? In other words, where my brain is going is that metal building is suitable. These folks enjoy living there. But what if someone wanted to come in and build a single-family residence? This building is extremely large. Are we going to duplicate the situation we just had? Or what's the effect because of the opt-out construction of the metal building on future building?
That's a very, Madam Chair, that's a very loaded question. When the previous property owner chose to participate in the county's owner builder program, they bypassed plan review as well as inspections. The current owners found the place to be to their satisfaction, and they've chosen to purchase it and utilize it. Down the road at some point, there's always other concerns that we find out after the fact from some folks that participate in the project as far as like home insurance rates. If a future buyer attempted to secure financing, that could be an issue. But as long as the current owners reside on the property, they're not applying for any permits. If they were to propose any modifications to it, we would encourage them to participate in the permitting process, obviously, for safety purposes, particularly if there are on-site customers associated with it. We would certainly ask the applicant to be mindful of the potential risk associated with having an opt-out structure used for, well, accessible by the public.
Right, it was more loaded than I realized. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Mr. Taylor, can we get your summary then?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2404 to allow a metal art and sculpture business with the following conditions. Business hours are limited to Monday through Saturday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Outside storage and work areas shall be screened using a combination of standard materials, vegetation, and natural features. A county right-of-way permit for a commercial driveway is required. Driveway must be hard surfaced, meeting or exceeding the surface of Mosen Road. Business signs will be limited to one monument sign not exceeding 4 feet in height or 36 square feet along Mosen Road and one wall sign not exceeding 36 square feet. The standard conditions relative to acceptance of conditions permitting requirements and timeframes as well as modifications will apply to this application and have not been modified by this request.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call for the motion.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbaugh.
I move to approve docket SU 24-04 with conditions of approval recommended by staff, the factors in favor of approval constituting the findings of fact.
Thank you. Second. Is there any further discussion? Now call for the question. What is your vote, Mr. Montgomery?
Well, in the interest of property rights and self-determination in our great state, I vote yes to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Limbaugh.
Aye.
Mr. Watkins.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Martsky.
Aye.
Mr. Saunders.
Aye.
Ms. Pickett. Aye. Chair votes aye. It is unanimous. This motion passes. Any individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or online at cochise.az.gov. Congratulations, Mr. and Ms. Gibbon. That is the end of our dockets for the evening. It's time for the planning director's report.
We will have a meeting on June 12th. There will be 3 dockets. All 3 are special uses. One is a solar farm, District 2. We also have Camp Naco special use, as well as a small grocery store in the Dragoon area. And staff will be bringing forward kind of the kickoff for our comp plan update. We're starting that process internally, and you are our board. So we would like to engage you, and it'll be just an introduction and maybe a slight focus on land use for the discussion during a work session.
Anything else? With there being no further items on the agenda, we will adjourn. It is 4:43.